everybody. This is Cambo, a beautiful sunny day, and we have Ian Grant, who, now would you call yourself a carriage maker?
Wheelwright carriage builder.
Carriage builder.
Yeah.
The distinction being between a carriage builder and...
Well, a carriage builder or a coach builder, the latter day coach builder is guys that repair cars and such like.
Aha.
Coach builder. But the term come through from, but a carriage builder is the term that I use for myself.
Well, Ian has a knowledge of the carriages around here because he's been to look after them before. This one, actually, if we didn't establish the date of this one, when would this one have been used, Ian?
I put this one approximately about 1875, 1880, there or thereabouts.
And its use would have been?
Just a utility vehicle for the farmer and his dogs and his goods in the back. Used by the farmer, maybe the farmer's wife, all depends, the necessity at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of loading it, for somebody sitting in it, can you explain how the seating would work?
Any driver climbs onto a carriage such as this, you must put his weight as close as you can directly over the axle so you don't overload or lighten the shafts. It makes it uncomfortable for the horse. So ideally his weight over the axle, so the shaft, they're actually just a steering wheel. That's all the shafts are. So try not to overload them. You put pressure on the horse, it makes it uncomfortable for the horse. But, your seat would run on these metal guys there, and you could adjust your seat by sliding it back, pop a pin in, and your footrest, if you're short legged, it could be adjusted to accommodate basically any size individual.
Would you actually adjust that every time you got in?
No, because generally it's like driving your car. You have your seat set to suit your own needs.
Right.
Same with this.
And you would get on from the right-hand side?
Yes.
As the convention was?
Yes, That other side you see has got one step there.
Oh, yes. Why?
Just if he has a passenger side to side.
Oh, right.
Yes.
And the seat went right from one side to the other?
One side to the other, and it'd have a backrest.
And you could load it actually from the back?
Yes, yes.
And this back?
The back would fold down. He'd fold the thing down, get his dogs or his dog in, load up the vehicle with whatever goods he has. And
then it would be one horse?
One horse, yes. That's quite sufficient for a vehicle this size.
And the reins,
over the rein bar onto the driver's lap, hands.
Any safety in this apart from hanging on?
No, no. Health and safety didn't come in the equation in these days. You either made it or you didn't.
What was the point of this shape?
It's just the style. It was actually, it was a Mr. Raleigh that designed this style. So it was called a rally cart, only because it had the sweeping sides.
And that was just for aesthetic. There was no reason for it.
Just the style, yeah.
And this bit here.
This is what's known as the dashboard.
Now, this is where it becomes interesting when you think of the terminology that was used in carts.
Yes, and it comes right through to the present day. Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. So this dashboard and what was it? There was another, the fifth wheel.
The fifth wheel. That's you get a fifth wheel on all four-wheel vehicles. The one I rebuilt for Brian Suter through John Roger had a fifth wheel. It was just the turntable.
Yes.
Your front axle pivoted on.
Yeah. In terms of actual comfort, you would have padding on the seat, obviously.
There'd be a cushion, a leather cushion with I don't know what you call them, but the buttons.
The buttons, yes.
And,
It was
yeah.
upholstered.
Yes, it was upholstered. Looking at this one, it would be fairly upmarket, I would expect.
We know in the archives that in Cambo they had a saddler that was fairly close by. Presumably, would it be in Kingsbarns or might it be St Andrews that would do the upholstery?
Well, if you look at go back 100 years or even 150 years, every village had a wheelwright, had a blacksmith. Every sizable town would maybe have two, well,
yes.
maybe three saddlers. To bring it into sort of perspective, in the 1800s, mid-1800s, up until the beginning of the First World War, in the UK there was 30,000 wheelwrights.
My goodness.
Up until the First World War, and during the First War, everything got automated. The truck, the car. Then wheelwrights and carriage builders, especially wheelwrights, keeping in mind, up until that period, the whole world relied on guys like
yes.
to move things. So up to the First War, then First War to the Second War, from 30,000, dramatic drop down to about 3,000. And after the Second World War, you come down to hundreds,
right.
to the 60s. Now, in the UK, roughly there's about 30.
Gosh.
About 30. 30 that do it for a living.
So you, as a carriage builder, would work closely with the blacksmith?
If there was one.
If there were, yes. And you, the blacksmith would be doing all the metal work?
All the metal work. You would give him a profile of what you desire. You'd give him a sketch or a drawing. Could you make me brackets to suit this?
Yes.
This curve on the rally cart brim, the mud wings.
So if somebody came along wanting a carriage from me for a utility vehicle like that, they would specify size of wheels and that spokes and...
Well, yeah, because once the wheel was made, but we'll bring you into making the wheels.
Yes.
Now, making the wheel, all wheels have a dish. Now, I'll explain to you what a dish is. Now, this is the outside of the wheel always has a bead. I turned this about 10 years ago, but as you can see, it's got an OG and a bead, where the bell fret comes against the bead. Same principle here. Bell fret comes against this bead and your OG. That indicates the outside of the wheel. So on that, here's one I made earlier.
Excellent. And this is a 12-spoke.
There's a 12-spoke wheel. Now, what I'm going to show to you here is the fact. See, when you make a wheel, and you bore the fellies to suit the spokes, when you come to put the spokes in, see how far that one is out from that hole there. Now, what they had for building the likes of these, they had what they called was a Samson, a metal lever that you pulled the spokes together in order to put it
to get it in line with
because
the holes.
It's like an exploding star. You know,
yes,
everything's shooting out.
Yes. So presumably, once that's in, there is no come back from that. That is, the pressure is holding it in.
More or less. So what happens here is, demonstrating this one, see how that has a split down the centre of the tenon. That is to accommodate a wedge.
Oh.
Although this hasn't got a saw draft down it, it would do. So once the saw draft's in, once it's in place and tight up to the shoulders of the spoke, insert a wedge. That holds the felly tight to the spoke, only to get it down to the tyre ring to get it tired. After that, it's the wedges are no use.
Gosh.
They're not needed.
And can you explain about the woods that you're using there?
Now,
The types.
There's, if you could see that, could you see that leaning out?
Oh, yes.
That's what's known as a dish. A dish. Now, that's the top of the wheel. The bottom of the wheel is dished so. You ask an engineer what's the strongest form, and he will tell you it's a triangle.
Triangle, yes.
There you have your triangle.
Of course.
It's an extremely strong wheel.
Mm-hmm.
If that was on here and it got a side knock, if it was straight up and down, the wheel would collapse in. This way, when it takes a side knock, it goes tighter. Now, there's a prime example. See that boulder or that block at the bottom of that?
Yes.
That's what's known as a kicker.
To
A
protect.
kicker block. It kicks the wheel away from the corner of the building.
Ah, right.
Now, there's loads of kicker blocks in Cooper. The Burnside Hotel, Cooper Arms, all the hotels that were on corners
Yes.
had kicker blocks to throw the.
Yes.
So no, this is ash. Your fellies are ash. Oak spokes, elm on the hub. Explain. Only because if I was to cut this through the centre, just to let you see, there's not a lot of wood holding the outside of the wheel to the inside of the wheel.
Yes.
Elm is ideal. It's so short grained, so tough. Once you put your hoops on, that's it forever. There's just, when you install all the spokes, there's a load of pressure wanting to split the thing apart. But your hoops hold it tight.
And elm will be the strongest wood that we've got in Britain. But you were explaining this one.
This is American black bog hickory on the
which we can't grow
we don't grow hickory in the UK. Now, coming back to the spoke, we'll demonstrate on this one, the spoke. Now, you have your fellow tenon and your nave tenon. And as the wheel, could you see that? You see this? It's shaved out here?
Yes.
That's what's known as a throat. A spoke throat. It makes it's more aesthetically pleasing to the eye when you.
So it's nothing to do with strength.
Nothing at all. It only there's a typical American throat.
Oh
see,
yes,
it
does taper in.
Yeah, it doesn't make it. It stops it making the wheel so clumsy. It just a style that it was.
So if they were when they were buying this, would they have actually bought the wheels from America, or would they have been manufactured here?
They would get the parts.
Right.
We need a wheel for such and such, the diameter 5 feet or so. Then they'd have a block, a solid block, 8 inches wide, probably 8-9 inches deep. You took your outside ones, your outside of the block was cut for your big fellas. And on the front wheels was the inside of the block. On 8 inches, you get four pieces of wood for the two wheels. 2 wheels in back, 2 wheels in front.
Yes. And in terms of the springs and the shock absorbers, I mean, basically every car started off using a similar style, didn't it? But was there any kind of, we're not saying softness, but spring in that actually? Yes,
there was. And it wasn't until really I mean, it's a fairly comfortable ride on this. But keeping in mind that it's with metal tyres, you feel every pebble that you run over. Then it was about 1870, the Americans come out with this solid rubber tyre. What a transformation. Going over the likes of, you don't feel every pebble.
Yes.
Although you feel the roughness, you don't catch every pebble. It doesn't come up your spine and jag your back. That was about 1870, and it still produced it. The rubber, solid rubber. It's called it's a C class rubber, whereas the modern type, or the type of the tyre that goes on is a C cup.
Yeah.
It's shaped in a C, where the rubber would go into either side, and it's held so. That's one method. The other method is a flat rubber, where the Americans have wires running all the way through the end of the rubber. It's a devil to install, but they produce machines to make it a wee bit easier. But there's so many different types of wheels. This is a Warner hub. You get Werner hubs. Now, the military, they used American hubs. They were called Archibald hubs. They were a metal plate inside, outside, and were put through with either rivets or studs. The UK military had them, so did the Germans, so did the Italians, the French, the Russians, and were all produced under license from this American idea.
Right.
It made an extremely strong wheel, whereas it was speed on repair. You undo your bolts, separate the inside flange, outside flange, and that left all your spokes free. So you take one out, keeping in mind there are thousands of them in stock. Take them out, insert it in, put it in the bottom, put your plate back in, whereas it didn't have a mortise or a tenon. It was just a metal plate with 2 screws either side. It held the top strong, quite strong. In fact, very strong. And the outside and inside was held on with this wide plate. Then your linchpin went through, and that was it.
This is, you're saying very strong, but you do see on films these wheels coming off. Was that very rare for a wheel to actually shear off?
Yes, that was just, it was commonest on the driver's concern.
Right. So the likes of this stone here that was protecting the building as well as protecting the cart, the horse would just swerve off as soon as
yes,
it would know.
It was, if the driver was so clumsy, it was there to protect the wheel and the carriage. The horse would feel the vehicle getting tossed across, but that was the idea.
Wonderful. I wonder, could we move across to the next one? Here we are with the Christmas cart. Now, the only reason we've got the Christmas tree still here in mid-January is because there's a bird's nest up there. So, making it a very festive cart. We're going to find out what the difference is between this utility cart and that. Size, obviously, being the first thing.
Yes, yeah, it's a cart typical of the farm work. Very heavy, very heavy. Heavy wheels, heavy spokes, heavy chassis onto your shafts, albeit they thin out as the closer they get to the horse. But it's there for strength, durability, mainly. Where this other vehicle here is lightness and comfort.
Yes.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
So the wheels on this cart is very heavy, as you can see, and that's a 4-inch rim. This is what was known as a Cirrus rim.
As in the Place series?
Yes, because it was, if it was boggy ground, a narrow tyre would be no good.
Yeah.
This is there to spread the weight as much as possible. I spoke about there already with the fellies. You can see the 2 spokes, 1 felly.
Yeah.
12 spokes, 6 fellies. And that's the way it's just always been. That's down on here, as you can see, a very even yet solid piece of elm. This was what was known as a common wheel, because you didn't need any tools. You undid the linchpin, take it off. It was because a commoner, a labourer, could change the wheels without any.
When is this dating from?
This, I would say, maybe the 1890, 1895, there or thereabouts.
So it could be used for potatoes, it could be used for straw, whatever.
Yes.
Where would somebody sit on this?
Well, it wasn't encouraged.
Oh, right.
It wasn't encouraged. You would walk beside it.
Yes,
Because
okay.
if you load up this cart, usually a cart with sides in it, the farmer would always have, which is even termed today as greedy boards, an extra board on top of the board that's there, just to get more on.
Yes.
So when you imagine a cart this size would take about just over a ton, just over. So if you're sitting on, you're adding extra weight to the cuddy.
Right.
So it was a case of you walked at the side.
You walk beside.
Yeah.
And it would take one horse or...
One horse, or it was hilly, you put them in tandem. You always had the option of putting them in tandem.
Yeah. And we would be talking Shires, Clydesdales.
Yes, of course, yeah, a heavy working horse.
And you were mentioning that this could actually be changed depending on the use.
Yes, now, this is very interesting. The spokes, or should I say the axle, is very, very heavy, as you can see. I mean, lifting it up without the wheels on, quite an effort. Whereas this type of vehicle, there's the pin that goes through, all the way down through and through the axle. So with a split pin or a shear pin on the bottom, you pull out the pin, lift up the cart, and that takes the axle away from the vehicle. Then install it onto another cart. Only because it was an expensive piece of gear, was a wheel.
Yes.
To make,
so depending on the use on the farm, whether they were carrying straw or potatoes or turnips or whatever, it was...
different vehicles,
yeah.
There were horses for courses,
yes.
as they say. So you lift a set of wheels off.
It's multi-utility.
Yes. It was just the way it was.
Yes.
I mean,
so you could actually have a wider cart if you were wanting to carry your straw.
Yes.
To keep your time.
Well, the hay rick.
Yes.
Or a hay cart. It always had your much the same design here, the shaft, but your shafts were up, and then over the top was a lattice, a framework where you could load the straw
yes.
over the wheels.
So
as you got as much, because
yes.
straw is fairly
yes.
light material, so you'd load up as much as you can, and that's the way it was. It's just how it was.
And made of what kind of wood?
These various. That's Douglas fir. These are Douglas fir. You'll get oak ones, oak spoke shafts, but they're very heavy, whereas they're comparatively light, although durable.
Yes.
And all for doing the work.
How long would one of these last? I mean, quite an outlay.
If it's in use daily day, I think this one's had quite a sheltered life. Well, the
yes.
shafts are off there, but yeah, I don't think it's been worked so hard. But they could last for a very, very long time. Very long time. Well, there's almost 140 years
yes.
on this one, but any gig or cart I make today or yesterday it would last maybe 200 years because it's not getting the same volume of work.
Yes.
It's not getting thrashed about just to get the job done. Generally, it's people who want the vehicle and look after it.
Yes, yes. But a utility cart like this on a farm would be going through mucky...
Oh, it was just, yeah. And keep in mind, we've got a dry day here, snow, wind, rain especially. The thing with a wheel was it doesn't mind being wet. Don't let it dry out. Tyre goes off.
Right.
Tyre comes off. Military vehicles would have your tyre, then rivets or studs through and riveted on the outside. What was called belt and braces.
Yep. That's where that phrase comes from.
Yes, because if you can imagine, I built a field gun, 18 Crimean era,
Yeah.
1852-54. I built a French howitzer replica, and that was the idea. With even then, I put a bolt through, welded it on, or riveted it on to the outside, because if you're trying to get away from the enemy, your tyre comes off, your wheel dismantles or disintegrates, you've lost the gun. For the want of a bolt,
yes,
it's belt and braces.
belt and braces.
The tyre would come slack, but it would hold the wheel
And you're
tight.
using the word tyre, which we think of in rubber.
A tyre.
A tyre is just a covering for a wheel.
No. What the tyre, it comes from the idea that is, it does what it says it is. You've got 21 pieces of wood there. That tyre ties everything all
It's
together.
tying together.
Tyre. That's where the word comes from.
Right.
T-Y-R-E. But the tyre, it was before tyres. They had what known as strakes. That was a piece of metal, the length of each felly, but it was joined half and half. Now you'd have probably a strake on that size of felly. You'd have 8 spikes, 8 spikes
Right.
for each strake. So you'd half and half. Your strakes would come halfway through each felly. You'd put your 2 on the outside of the strake, and then 2 on the other end. As it cooled down, it pulled the 2 together. Then you'd double up with the other.
Gosh. So when was a tyre actually invented?
About 1790,
Right, so
1810, there or thereabouts. It was some guy, what the hell, all this bumping.
Yes.
And it gave it a smoother ride.
So only 100 years really before the vehicles here.
It was always on the move. Technology. It was technical, I suppose, in a sense, but there's nothing stands still very long.
Yes.
But the Americans, I say, are a sad place without them. But they come away with some good ideas, some great ideas, and we just followed suit. So that looks good. We'll try that.
Right, well, we'll go on to the third one then. Here we are inside in Cambo with what looks like a brand new governess cart, but it's actually 2 carriages that you put together, Ian. So
Yes, that's correct. It was the box I had in store in the workshop, and Catherine Eskin, she wanted a cart. So we spoke about it and decided we could utilise the cart, make new repaired wheels that she had, make new shafts, and stick the whole lot together. And here we are, the complete governess cart.
So the wheels would have been for a governess cart. Let's just
originally,
yes.
According to their size, for a smallish pony, maybe 10 hands there or thereabouts. But these wheels belonged to a governess cart that Catherine had, so we took the wheels and the axle, repaired the wheels, made new fellies, new seals for the axles, greased everything up, put them all back together, working fine.
Could you just explain about the shape of this, because it's not absolutely straight, is it?
As you can see on close inspection, the shaft's made out of 3 laminated pieces of ash, much stronger and more flexible than a solid piece. When I put them together, you put them. The planks are actually 5 inches wide, so it gives me enough room to form the shape and take the points away from the shoulder of the horse.
Oh yes, you can actually see how that comes out there. Yes.
Now, gluing them all together, contraction, expansion. One on top of the other, then another. One's working against the other. With you alternate the growth rings, which helps gives it the stability once it's all glued together, and that keeps its form. It just keeps its shape.
Gosh.
And that's as simple as that.
Well, not quite. It's just simple. It's very, very clever the way that that shapes in and out.
It's quite moderate. I've made the shafts with an extreme kick out.
Yes.
On the fronts.
Right. Can you explain how you get the shape on a box? How does that?
This is steam bent.
Ah, right.
Okay. It's just a straight piece of it's Peruvian mahogany. Put in a box, then it's steamed. Steamed. Your rule of thumb when you're steaming any piece of timber is it's an hour and a half to the thickness.
Oh my goodness.
So that plus I would say half an hour on this dimension. So you put in the box a straight piece of wood, bring it out, then you put on the former and form it round. But in saying that, I know for a fact when you're steaming oak, you only get one shot of it. It doesn't re-steam.
Oh, why is that?
It's something to do with the fibres in the wood. It'll bend, then it'll crack.
Right.
So this is not too bad. It's a wee bit more forgiving than an oak plank for a boat, shall we say, where it is, as I said, you only get one shot at it.
Yes.
So it
And it's the wings, are they mahogany as well?
They are Peruvian mahogany and all, yeah. Gosh. The box itself, looking at a quick glance, yes, it's all basically all Peruvian mahogany.
That's wonderful. And this, the springs,
that's actually what's known as a splinter bar. That's right. It's an independent spring on the front. So when the horse is going on over uneven ground, the shafts will flex, and that gives it a little.
Is that the only springing?
No. You have the springs on.
Oh no, you've got
on the wheel.
On the wheels. Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the big spring.
It's very lightly sprung. It's a fair vehicle. I would think the governess would be at the tail end here, with her foot, her left foot against the door to give her stability, right leg in here, sitting there with the two children that side and maybe one at this side, evens it all up. But that was the way it was always done. It was it was just a simple design where the leg was through the cutout on the seat there, and the left leg was leant against the door.
Yes.
There are generally marks on the base of the door there where the leather shoes be striking the door. But
it all looks really quite cosy, and as you say, you can get 3 children, and this is the dashboard.
This is the dashboard. This is what's known as dashboard. This is the rain bar.
Oh yes, the rains came through there, and these at the side.
They are actually for the lamp holders.
Gosh, so night driving was allowed.
Yes.
And then the rains, did they come?
These are what's known as pigtails. That your traces went on to your horse, and that was actually what pulled the cart.
Ah,
took the
right.
Cart. Now, these are tug stops. These brackets on the front here, they are known as tug stops. So your traces come from the back onto the collar, and your traces from there onto your tug stops. That was actually your brakes.
Oh,
That's what stopped the carriage from striking the horse.
Oh, right, just that simple thing.
That's what it's known as tug stops.
Right. And this model of a horse, would that be about the size?
Yes, about this. Just, yeah, maybe a couple of, hands, maybe 4 inches taller.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, yeah, about that size.
So this would have been quite a common vehicle to see around.
Very common. Yes, very common. Hundreds of them, even
yes. Right.
Yeah, or St Andrews for that
So
matter.
this would be the one that people would just go out with the kids to the shops or
That's
whatever
right.
in.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
where did the actual design of it come from? Is it a British design?
Yes, I would say it is. I haven't seen any pictures or known of any other vehicle of this type in the US or in Europe. Although there would be something similar, but not
Not exactly
not this
this.
exact design.
Yes, because you think of in Westerns, it's more of a flat cart, isn't it?
That's
that,
right.
that they
A
would use.
buckboard.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
flat.
yeah.
And in Europe, something like this, so it's a utility vehicle
More or
for
less,
small
yes,
numbers.
more or less. The carriages were built for the need. Whatever
Yes.
shape or size was required for whatever particular job it was needed for.
And would it last? I mean, obviously, this box has lasted for a while.
That box, I would put in the region roughly about 1890.
My goodness me. That
So
is,
it's doing well.
it is
It's doing
certainly
well.
doing well. And this Peruvian
Peruvian mahogany.
has just done
It's,
tremendously.
all now, albeit a protected species now, along with the Brazilian mahogany, teak. It's not to be found at all. Not in the commercial market.
It's honestly as beautiful. I don't know if you can see the grain in it, but it's a beautiful wood.
It's nice wood to work with. It's very, when you're cutting it with the handsaw, it's like cutting velvet. It's just a different feel.
How wonderful. And when we see this lovely steam bent, it's actually steam bent in two corners, isn't it?
Yes,
is this one whole piece all the way round here? Or is it?
No. You have the former for the base, then you have a former for the backrests.
Right.
Two separate
But
formers.
this bit, as you come round here, is this still one piece that goes right round to the door?
There's a joint here.
Oh, so there is. Right. So you've got two curves.
In actual fact, it's one profile mould. So you take this one, mould it onto the profile here, and that one is just exactly the same, but it's just in reverse.
How wonderful. It really is. It's just a beauty. Right. Thank you so much, Ian.
No bother.
Honestly, this
My
is something for the future, for the archive and everybody knowing how this was made. And it's wonderful to meet somebody who actually can make them, not just talk about them. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.